Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
More than 500,000 newly summoned angels were all dispatched by Lin Yu. These angels were divided into 1,100 small-scale angel legions and flew in various directions towards Paradise Town, starting to eliminate the remaining wild monsters and local strongholds in the Dark Forest. The local believer legions of the territory also had the same mission, such as the Mountain Giant Legion, Dark Elf Legion, Goblin Legion, Forest Troll Legion, and so on. After dealing with the matters of Elf Garden and Naga Kingdom, the Natural Elf Army led by the Elf Queen and the Naga Army led by the Naga Queen, as well as the Fishman Army, will also participate in the comprehensive elimination of the Dark Forest. It is believed that it won't take long. The Dark Forest will be completely under Lin Yu's control. After the Angel Legions left, Angelia suddenly spoke to Lin Yu. "My lord, yesterday, I had Coral create a large number of teleportation arrays. I will go and set up those teleportation arrays to help the territory legions complete their elimination tasks faster." In addition, the Elf Queen, Naga Queen, and Lich King also took away many teleportation arrays. They will scatter these teleportation arrays in their respective territories. By then, the other troops under Lin Yu's command can easily teleport there. If Lin Yu wants to visit the headquarters of Elf Garden, he doesn't need to fly thousands of kilometers anymore. He can instantly teleport there. "All right." Lin Yu nodded and said, "Also bring the blueprints for the watchtowers and scatter them in various regions to provide a battlefield view for the territory legions." "Yes, my lord." After Angelia respectfully left, only Lin Yu remained in the Hall of the Overlord. His maid, Tiffany, had also gone out on a mission. She would come back at noon to prepare lunch for Lin Yu, or to serve him a nice nap. It must be said that Lin Yu's life is much more enjoyable than other overlords. Advertisement. He doesn't even have to worry about whether his territory will be destroyed by local forces, because now there is no local force that can destroy his territory. Even if the Sacred Land of Elves and the Dragon Clan from the Bay join forces to attack, they won't be able to conquer his territory. In this world, his territory is invincible. However, Lin Yu is not idle either. He still has a large number of blueprints that need to be processed, all of which are useful for his territory. Among them, there are even 5 blacksmith workshop blueprints. Just these 5 blacksmith workshop blueprints alone will bring him huge profits. Of course, he won't sell them on the island trading platform. That would be a waste. He wants to build them himself. In a high-level town, he can build 5 blacksmith workshops. His territory already has 4, so he can build 1 more. With 5 blacksmith workshops, he can produce 50,000 pieces of equipment daily. Excluding the consumption of Dark Elf troops, there are still 40,000 pieces of equipment left, which can bring him tens of millions of gold coins every day. This is very impressive. It's even more than the gold coins obtained from killing millions of undead creatures and wild monsters yesterday. This shows how profitable the equipment merchant profession is. Of course, this is also because he stands alone at the forefront. Other overlords who have blacksmith workshops can only produce 100 or so pieces of equipment at most each day due to the limited number of blacksmiths and equipment forging blueprints. And they are all low-level equipment. They usually sell them at low prices. Advertisement. Compared to them, Lin Yu is making a fortune. After building the 5th blacksmith workshop, Lin Yu still has 4 blacksmith workshop blueprints left, which he stored in his personal space equipment. When the territory upgrades to a city, the number of blacksmith workshops that can be built will increase again. Then he can use these blueprints again. Next, Lin Yu processed all the other blueprints, adding a large number of high-level stone houses, high-level magic cannons, and other buildings to the territory. His territory spans 160 kilometers. With over 200,000 high-level stone houses, it can accommodate more than 60 million residents. And the total number of residents under his command is only about 5 million. So there is no need to worry about not having enough places to live. While Lin Yu was busy, on top of a 1,000-meter-high mountain, hundreds of kilometers away from Paradise Town, 2 figures with completely different temperaments gathered here. One figure was elegant, noble, sacred, and untouchable. The other figure was evil, cold, and seemed like a killer from hell. In fact, the second figure did come from hell. She was one of the 10-winged fallen angels that Lin Yu had just summoned. And the elegant figure was naturally Lin Yu's secretariat. Secretarian and the 10-winged fallen angel stood tens of meters apart, facing each other. The former slightly frowned. The latter had bloodshot eyes and a strange smile on her beautiful cheeks. Angelia, my dear sister. It's been a long time. It has been tens of millions of years. Indeed, it has been a long time since we last met. Angelia slightly raised her golden eyes and looked at the perfectly proportioned 10-winged fallen angel in front of her. She frowned and said, leaving the divine domain without permission and descending to the floating island world. Once the world rules of the myriad worlds battlefield discover this, it will be troublesome. The 10-winged fallen angel chuckled. She didn't take Angelia's warning to heart and even smiled back. The one who first broke the rules was clearly you, sister. Either no one descends, or no one says anything about anyone. Angelia. At this moment, the 10-winged fallen angel said with a cold expression, who does he think he is, causing trouble for our angel clan? Give him face and reluctantly follow some rules. If we don't give him face, one day we will slaughter him. The Supreme Creator returns to the myriad worlds. He, a spirit of world rules, dares to obstruct it. We should have purified him together back then. Hearing the 10-winged fallen angel's harsh words, Angelia silently rolled her eyes. After so many years, this guy's temper is still so reckless. Or it could be said that the 3 18-winged fallen archangels from hell have the same personality. They act impulsively without considering the consequences. Otherwise, the 3 of them wouldn't have fallen together. And besides the Creator, they don't regard anyone else highly, including the several 18-winged grand archangels of the divine domain. Now that we have descended to the mortal realm, I won't say much. Angelia said to the 10-winged fallen angel, I only warn you about one thing. Hide your identity well and don't let the world rules of the myriad worlds battlefield discover you. If you disrupt our Lord's plan because of this, don't blame me for being impolite to you. Advertisement. Understood, my dear sister. You're still as talkative as before. The 10-winged fallen angel grinned, glanced at Angelia a few more times, and said, what's wrong with becoming a fallen angel? It makes us stronger. Moreover, during the era of the universe's inception, the Supreme Creator created 2 chaotic archangels, one good and one evil, who were in opposition to each other. Back then, sister should have joined us. That's enough. Angelia frowned. I'm really curious. Why did Astia not descend? Why is it you? What's wrong with me? The 10-winged fallen angel was a little dissatisfied. She coldly snorted at Angelia and then said, if sister wants to see Astia, she can only wait until we go to the myriad worlds battlefield. It's also worth telling sister. Astia is building a space-time machine that can traverse the myriad worlds battlefield, allowing our Hell Camp's army to descend all at once. If we have to blame someone, blame the laws of this floating island world for being too weak. When I came over, I was also very cautious, afraid of giving it another heavy blow like my sister. It doesn't matter if the cross-border teleportation array collapses, but if the world collapses, the guilt would be heavy. As she said this, the 10-winged fallen angel was actually laughing happily. Angelia rubbed her forehead. This guy is even crazier than Astia. If Astia is the strategist behind the scenes, then this 10-winged fallen angel is the general on the front lines. Angelia originally thought she was still asleep, but she didn't expect her to wake up. And she even descended into this world. This is going to be fun. Just at this moment, the 10-winged fallen angel suddenly spread her arms as if embracing the world, highlighting her incredibly voluptuous figure and curves. She seemed to be intoxicated as she took a deep breath. Advertisement. Even this weak mortal world is much better than hell. Sister exiled us to that dark and filthy world back then. Isn't that heartless? Doesn't she feel guilty? After all, we are sisters born from the original reincarnation pool. Angelia looked at her expressionlessly and said, if I didn't exile you, Would you just stand by and watch as you all ruin our Lord's divine domain? What? Do you still want to retaliate against me? Victoria is my sister. How could I dare to retaliate against my sister? The ten-winged fallen angel smiled and said, I came here this time to serve the Almighty Creator with my sister. In this regard, I hope my sister can teach me a few things. Angelia's eyebrows twitched. She could see that this guy came to compete with her for a position in the heart of the Lord of Holy Light. She had always served by the side of the Lord of Holy Light, elevating the importance of the Holy Angel camp in the Lord of Holy Light's heart, and those fallen angels couldn't sit still. After all, the fallen angel camp was inherently weak, always suppressed by the Holy Angel camp. Now, they finally had an opportunity, so of course they would seize it. That's why Victoria came. Angelia said expressionlessly, You are already very powerful. You don't need me to teach you. It is my sister's honor to receive praise from my sister. Victoria giggled, seemingly in a really good mood. But Angelia didn't want to pay any more attention to her. Her elegant figure disappeared in an instant. After Secretarian left, the beautiful smile on Victoria's face gradually disappeared. Her expression became extremely cold. Suddenly, she raised her head and stared coldly at the sky, saying, You better pretend you didn't see my descent. Also, if you dare to peep again, be careful, I'll kill you. As she spoke, the clear sky suddenly trembled. And then, there was nothing more. I smell the breath of the spirits from the underworld. Victoria reached out into the void and unexpectedly pulled out strands of blood-red threads. These threads wriggled in her palm like little snakes, as if trying to escape but unable to escape Victoria's grasp. In the end, Victoria crushed them with a single squeeze. The pure power of the laws of the underworld. It contains a trace of divine power. This indicates that a true god from the underworld has descended upon this world. Quite audacious. Victoria sneered. She had a stunning face and an imposing figure. Apart from being slightly bulky, there was not a single flaw to be found. Even the malicious smirk on her cheek had a unique beauty. The beauty of darkness and evil. This beauty stood in stark contrast to the purity of the divine angels. But they were equally matched. Even in front of Secretarian, Victoria seemed to lack nothing. At this moment, Victoria suddenly reached out and slashed at the empty space in front of her. Instantly, the void was torn open, revealing a dark world behind it. After about 10 seconds, a blood-colored figure emitting the aura of a demigod walked out of the rift in the void. This figure was none other than the eight-winged fallen angel, Gladys. Upon seeing Victoria, Gladys first showed a dazed expression, then a look of ecstatic joy. Without hesitation, she knelt down and said excitedly and respectfully, Respected Victoria, it is an honor to meet you. Seeing Gladys, who was filled with excitement, Victoria seemed somewhat dissatisfied and coldly said, It took you so long to recover to the eight-wing level. I sent you here to serve the Creator, not to be lazy. Look at Angelia. When she descended, she only had 4 wings, but now she is a 12-winged angel. Advertisement. Gladys trembled. Her expression was panicked, and bitterness welled up in her heart. Even at her peak, she was only a small 12-winged fallen angel. How could she compare to Angelia? However, in the face of Victoria's reprimand, she dared not explain anything. She immediately apologized and begged for Victoria's forgiveness. Just then, a powerful and terrifying thought entered her body. It even touched her soul. Fallen angel Gladys did not dare to resist because she knew that Victoria was searching her soul memories to grasp what had happened during this time. After a short while, the terrifying thought receded. Rise. Victoria raised her hand with an indifferent expression. After Gladys respectfully stood up, Victoria said, I have a task for you. Select a few of the highest-ranking fallen angel combat teams and train them to the demigod level, activating their angelic hearts. The Infernal Soldier is one of our secret weapons. It will allow our fallen angel camp to receive more favor from the Creator. But until now, there hasn't been a complete Infernal Soldier. No wonder the Creator's attention is mainly focused on those divine angels. It's not their fault for being powerful. It's your fault for being useless. Both you and Sylvia can't even handle a small matter. Calm down, Your Majesty. Gladys knelt down again, full of fear. In fact, she felt wrong too. After all, the time was really too short. She never missed a single battle, and the enemies she killed could pile up into a mountain. But she had just recently advanced to the demigod level, let alone the four-winged fallen angels and two-winged fallen angels. Advertisement. So far, the highest-ranking four-winged fallen angels and two-winged angels were only at the saint rank level. There was still a long way to go before they could reach the demigod level. Naturally, it was impossible to create a complete infernal soldier for the integrated union. Victoria glanced at her and said, "The soul orbs assigned to you by Angelia contain the soul essence of millions of wild monsters. But you high-ranking fallen angels have divided those soul orbs among yourselves. If you had concentrated them to train a fallen angel combat team, we would already have an infernal soldier." Gladys couldn't say anything. In the fallen angel camp, only the high-ranking angels were truly living beings. The four-winged fallen angels and two-winged fallen angels were just puppets created by them to serve the camp. In a resource-scarce situation, the high-ranking fallen angels naturally prioritized improving their own strength rather than training those soldiers. "Forget it, I won't punish you this time." Victoria waved her hand, allowing Gladys to stand up, and then said, "Now that I have descended, I will definitely not let Angelia steal all the limelight." Gladys quickly said, "With Your Majesty's intervention, 1 is equal to 2. Victoria glanced at her and said, "Just you and Sylvia?" Gladys twitched her mouth and then said, "Of course, I dare not compare myself to Your Majesty. What I mean is that Your Majesty can at least match 2 18-winged Grand Archangels." "That's more like it." Victoria snorted, "Go, take care of the tasks I assign to you." With that, her figure disappeared into thin air. She was going to the Bone Temple to kill the true god of the rock demons, devour its divine soul, and ascend to a 12-winged fallen angel. Angelia was already at the 12-wing level, so she couldn't fall behind. Otherwise, how could she show herself in front of the Creator, Bone Temple? In an area spanning hundreds of kilometers, there is nothing but a sea of white bones. Even the mountains are piled with countless white bones, like bone mountains. Here, you cannot see any trace of life. Even the lakes are filled with dark red blood. This is the world of the undead, filled with an extremely strong deathly aura. From time to time, new undead creatures are born and crawl out of the sea of bones. Countless ghosts hover above the sea of bones, making the sky appear gray and hazy. The scene looks exceptionally terrifying. At the same time, this is also a forbidden zone for living beings. Under normal circumstances, even saint-rank experts who have mastered their domains would not appear here, because that would mean risking their lives. However, compared to a day ago, there are already fewer undead creatures in this area. Previously, powerful undead creatures were everywhere. From time to time, one could see apex-level undead creatures such as bone dragons, death knights, headless knights, ghost dragons, and so on. There are countless boss-level undead creatures like the Skeleton King Ryan here. But now, not only has the number of undead creatures here plummeted, but they are also generally weak undead creatures. Because the vast majority of powerful undead creatures were taken by the Lich King to the battlefield of Paradise Town and never returned. Of course, not all of them. There are still some extremely powerful undead creatures left behind. Their task is to guard the Lich King. A whole day has passed, and there is still no news from His Majesty. Could something unexpected have happened? Advertisement. It's definitely impossible. His Majesty is an undead lich. Even if multiple demigods join forces, it would be difficult to kill him. Even if the war in Paradise Town fails, His Majesty should have no problem escaping back to Bone Temple. Most likely, His Majesty is delayed by something, which is why there is no news. Don't worry, my intuition tells me that His Majesty will return to Bone Temple soon. In the center of Bone Temple, there is a bone palace made of various giant creature skeletons. There are also many different bone structures around. This is the true bone temple. It is the living area of the Lich King and his powerful undead. At this moment, more than a dozen undead creatures with the rank of saint have gathered in the central bone palace. Compared to the current paradise town, they are nothing. But compared to other overlords and combat professionals, these dozen or so saint rank undead are still invincible. With them around, the local forces of the Dark Forest dare not invade easily. They gather in the central bone temple, discussing and waiting for news of the Lich King's return. The Lich King is the ruler of the bone temple, sheltering all undead creatures here. If the Lich King is gone, the bone temple will quickly become a part of Dark Forest history. Therefore, these saint rank undead are a bit anxious, hoping for the safe return of the Lich King. Just at this moment, a transcendent level ghost suddenly broke into the central bone temple, anxiously saying, "My lords, something bad has happened. An alien legion has invaded our territory. Judging from their appearance, they should be the legendary Angel Clan." In addition, there is also a huge white city accompanying the Angel Legion, emitting an incredibly pure, holy, and luminous power. This is impossible. Advertisement. Immediately, a powerful saint-rank skeleton exclaimed, "Your Majesty led the army to attack Paradise Town just yesterday, and there was also cooperation with Elf Garden and Naga Kingdom. How could the angels be on our territory? Could it be Your Majesty's forces were defeated?" As soon as these words were spoken, the Bone Temple fell into silence. This seems to explain why they haven't received any news from their Majesty all day. The coalition forces were defeated. It is also highly likely that the Lich King has fallen. So, aren't these undead creatures left behind also doomed? Now, the angel army from Paradise Town is wielding the legendary war weapon, the City of Angels, and their purpose is clear: to completely eradicate the Bone Temple. Not even a skeleton claw can escape. Even the souls of flies and ghosts would need to undergo a complete soul formation technique to leave. What should we do? My lords, our Majesty is dead. The Angel Legion is attacking forcefully, and we are afraid that we will all be purified into bone fragments. Upon hearing this, a saint-rank ghost with the appearance of a troll immediately expressed his worries. "At least you can leave behind bone fragments, but if I fall into the hands of those angels, I won't even have a chance to leave behind ashes." The crowd of saint-rank undead fell silent. "Enough! Stop talking. The most urgent matter is to leave here as soon as possible. Our Majesty has most likely embraced the embrace of death, and guarding the temple is meaningless. Let's divide the treasury and go our separate ways." That makes sense. The saint-rank undead present all agreed. At this moment, they are just like Tang Sanzang being captured by monsters, and Zhu Beiji clamoring to split up and return to Gao Laozhuang with Sha Wujing. Without hesitation, the group of saint-rank undead immediately rushed towards the Lich King's private treasury, because that's where the most precious and valuable things are. The private treasury of the Lich King is the forbidden area of the Bone Temple. Without the permission of the Lich King, no undead is allowed to enter. This includes the Dark Archmage who possesses the level of a demigod. Around the private treasury, there are magical restrictions personally arranged by the Lich King, which combine offense and defense enough to prevent the forced entry of ordinary demigod-level powerhouses. However, when a group of saint-rank undead appeared at the entrance of the private treasury, they found that all those magical restrictions had disappeared. There is the imprint of His Majesty on the magical restrictions. With the fall of His Majesty and the disappearance of the imprint, it is normal for the magical restrictions to self-destruct. An undead of Saint Rank explained. Another undead, a huge ghoul king at the level of Saint Rank late stage, said, "This actually helps us. We don't need to waste effort destroying the restrictions." The group of Saint Rank undead nodded in agreement. Immediately, they rushed in and entered the treasury. However, soon, the scene they saw made them stunned on the spot. Inside the treasury, it was in complete chaos. Various broken items were scattered all over the floor, and among them, all the valuable items had disappeared. It was obvious that someone had entered in advance and looted the treasury. Damn it! Who has the audacity to do this? To dare to loot the private treasury of His Majesty the Lich King? The group of Saint Rank undead were all dumbfounded. They were all in a state of incredible anger. They had planned to share the spoils and escape together, but they never expected someone to beat them to it. Could it be those human dark mages? Impossible. An undead of Saint Rank analyzed. The human dark mages with slightly stronger abilities have already gone to Paradise Town with His Majesty. Only rookies are left behind, and they don't have the ability to approach His Majesty's private treasury. It's not them. Then who could it be? Could it be one of us who acted in advance? As soon as these words were spoken, the Saint Rank undead present began to explain, stating that they were not thieves. Advertisement. At this critical moment, no one dared to hesitate, because hesitation meant defeat. They would be torn to pieces by their other companions. Suddenly, a Saint Rank undead noticed something abnormal and led other Saint Rank undead to the deepest part of the treasury. In their field of vision, a huge cave appeared. It had a diameter of at least 50 meters. Around the entrance of the cave, there was a large amount of fresh soil scattered. The group of Saint Rank undead surrounded the cave, looking down into the depths. They could only see darkness in the cave, extending underground for an unknown distance. It gave them a feeling of a gaping abyss. Moreover, they inexplicably sensed a very dangerous aura, as if once they entered the cave, they would have no place to be buried. How could there be an underground cave here? Looking at the fresh soil around, it seems to have been dug out recently. Could it be dug by His Majesty? There is a possibility. However, I doubt it. This underground cave seems more like the work of thieves looting a treasure trove. I understand. A powerful undead Saint Rank member of the zombie clan shouted. It must be those thieves who dug this cave in the underground world, allowing them to enter His Majesty's private treasury and steal things here. Smart. That must be it. What should we do now? Should we leave directly or explore this cave? Let's go in and take a look. Another undead Saint Rank said, if we go from the outside, we might run into the angel army of Paradise Town. It's not safe. It's better to escape directly from this cave. If it really leads to the underground world, then we can escape smoothly. Maybe we can even catch those thieves and retrieve His Majesty's private treasures. The underground world is the territory of evil races, led by dark elves, cyclops, spider-faced humans, undead, and other powerful evil forces. They are also undead. Advertisement. Entering the underground world is like returning home for them. They believe that even if those angels are fierce, it is unlikely that they will come to the underground world to hunt them down. Therefore, this cave is like a safe passage for them. I have a feeling of unease. I feel the same way, as if there is great terror in the depths of the cave. Don't think too much. Even if there is a grim reaper inside, we still have to face it. If we fall into the hands of the grim reaper, we still have a chance to survive and become its servants. If we are caught by those angels, they won't even give us a chance to enter the embrace of the underworld. You're right. The group of undead Saint Rank members did not hesitate. They immediately summoned the Transcendent and King-level undead, who were left behind at the Bone Temple. They reluctantly formed a medium-sized army of several thousand. Then they all entered the cave in an orderly manner. These Transcendent and King-level undead are considered their subordinates in rebuilding their power in the underground world. As for the Bone Temple, they no longer intend to defend it. After all, their loyal Lich King has already perished, and they don't want to accompany the Lich King in his burial. After traversing the pitch-black cave for an unknown amount of time, finally, a scattered light appeared ahead. They thought they had finally entered the underground world, but when they approached, they found themselves in a closed underground space. In the center of this underground space, there lay a snake corpse so large that they couldn't imagine it. It was at least a kilometer long. Near the snake corpse stood a humanoid monster towering hundreds of meters tall, with molten lava flowing all over its body. There was also a group of evil knights riding on nightmare beasts. Lava giant, nightmare knights. and a snake corpse emitting a divine aura and the breath of the underworld. What kind of place is this? The underworld? All the undead saint rank members were dumbfounded. At this moment, a terrifying aura surged forth like a tsunami, instantly enveloping a group of saint rank undead and the thousands of transcendent and king-level undead behind them. In an instant, these undead instinctively knelt down, because within that aura there was a terrifying divine might, and it came from the underworld. As undead creatures, they also belonged to the underworld camp. Facing the true god of the underworld, they were naturally unable to resist, just like meeting their own god of faith. Moreover, their strength was not strong either. The highest rank among them was only at the peak of saint rank. They didn't even have control over the laws. That divine might, like an immovable divine mountain, pressed down on them, forcing them to kneel. Not to mention resisting, they couldn't even escape. Hail the Emperor of the Underworld! In the underground world of our bone temple, there are actually two true gods from the underworld. How is this possible? Two true gods, one dead and one alive. The living one was a lava giant with a body over 100 meters tall, and the terrifying divine might pressing down on them also came from this rock demon. Although its rank was in the demigod realm, but the divine might was real. Obviously, it was a true god from the lower realm. As for the dead true god, it was a 1,000-meter-long ghostly python. This was a ghostly giant python, one of the unique giant monster races of the underworld. Although it had fallen for countless years, its body had not decayed, and even divine might was still emanating from it. Gods, eternal and immortal. This was because the bodies of gods contained an immortal substance. This immortal substance was indestructible. Even time could hardly make the immortal substance disappear. So, after the death of a god, its body would also be preserved eternally, unless the immortal substance within it disappeared. Advertisement. Otherwise, even after tens of millions of years, the body of a god would not decay into ashes. This is really seeing a ghost. I didn't expect that my previous joke would actually come true. I actually saw the god of death. And there are two of them. A distorted expression appeared on the face of a saint rank undead. There are two types of gods in the underworld, the god of death and the true god. These two types of gods are different. The latter is a common spirit ascension god, just like gods from other worlds. The former is a special god unique to the underworld, possessing the ability to travel between the yin and yang realms and excelling at harvesting the souls of the deceased. To become a god of death, one needs to obtain the recognition of the spirit of the laws of the underworld world. This difficulty is not low. In the underworld, the number of ordinary true gods far exceeds that of the gods of death, and the status of the gods of death is also higher. But for these saint rank undead, whether these two deities in front of us are the rumored Grim Reapers or ordinary true gods from the underworld, there is no difference. A saint rank late-stage Lich King, trembling with spiritual consciousness, said, "Brothers, the case is solved. The personal treasury of His Majesty the Lich King was stolen by that Grim Reaper and those nightmare knights." Hearing this, the group of saint rank undead rolled their eyes. It's already what the hell time, and they're still concerned about who robbed the treasury of His Majesty the Lich King. What's the matter? Does this guy still want to snatch the treasury items back from the hands of that rock demon god? Not to mention that rock demon god. Even those nightmare knights are not something they can contend with. That is a team of 100 people. It may seem small in scale, but their strength is extremely powerful. The leader is a demigod-level nightmare knight. The other nightmare knights are either saint rank or transcendent. With such a powerful combination, they can kill them all with just one charge. Advertisement. I don't know if they heard their prayers. That team of nightmare knights actually charged towards them. Seeing this scene, a saint rank undead immediately shouted in panic to the lava giant, "Lord Grim Reaper, spare us. We are willing to become your servants and serve you for eternity. Lord, please forgive us. We didn't see anything." Other saint rank undead also begged desperately. Now, they are suppressed by divine power and cannot move. Apart from begging for mercy, they have no other choice. However, the rock demon completely ignored them and continued with what it was doing. It was building an altar. This is an altar with teleportation function. Its purpose is to absorb the power of the underworld, tear through space and time, and teleport them to the myriad worlds battlefield. The world rules of the myriad worlds battlefield isolate the underworld. So the deities of the underworld can only enter the myriad worlds battlefield by passing through other worlds, such as the floating island world. Now, the corpse of the Grim Reaper, Bacchus, has been luckily found by it. It needs to leave this ghostly place quickly. As for the Nightmare Knight teams scattered in other areas of this world, it doesn't want to waste time gathering them. If those angels chase after it, it might not even be able to escape. How can it manage so much? In no time, screams resounded. The Nightmare Knight team had already charged into the undead camp, killing the undead mercilessly. They paid no attention to the wailing and begging. And in less than 5 minutes, thousands of Saint rank, Transcendent, and King-level undead powerhouses were slaughtered by them, not sparing a single one. Even the soul fires of these undead were devoured by them. Then, they gathered near the rock demon. "Lord, we have a big problem. Those angels are chasing after us, and they even brought the war weapon, the City of Angels." The rock demon arrived at the Bone Temple last night. These useless Nightmare Knights finally found the body of the death god, Bacchus. After finding the body, it immediately built a teleportation altar. Now, the main structure of the altar has been completed. Only the runes need to be inscribed. At this moment, it was startled by a roar from the demigod-level Nightmare Knight. It trembled all over in fear. It almost caused the runes to collapse, ruining its efforts. However, the rock demon did not blame the Nightmare Knight, because it was purely startled by the news of the arrival of the Angel clan. It was not that it was too timid. It was true that those angels were too ferocious. Without hesitation, the rock demon said to the group of Nightmare Knights, "You go to the surface world, destroy all the buildings of the Bone Temple, and seal the entrance to the cave. If any angels approach, lead them away. In any case, we must not let them disturb the construction of this teleportation altar." In no more than half an hour, it would be able to complete the inscription of the runes on the altar. By then, it would be able to teleport directly to the myriad worlds battlefield, to escape from those wicked angels. "Yes, sir." The demigod-level Nightmare Knight respectfully obeyed the order. Then, without looking back, it left the underground space with the other Nightmare Knights. They knew that once they left this time, it would be almost certain death. There was no way to escape. They would definitely die at the hands of those angels. However, they dared not disobey the decree from the gods of the underworld. Even if they knew it was death, they could only follow orders. Advertisement. After the Nightmare Knights left, the rock demon immediately stored the kilometer-long body of the abyssal python in its spatial equipment, and then continued to inscribe the runes for the altar. Its speed was much faster than before, just because it didn't expect those angels to come so quickly. It was like they were chasing after its traces. Although it had the level of a peak demigod, and even had a divine soul inside its body, its strength could be said to be invincible at the demigod level, but it dared not come into contact with those angels. What if it killed a small one and a bigger one came after it? Its current unique idea is to complete the construction of the teleportation altar as quickly as possible and then leave this cursed place. It would rather deal with the gods of the myriad worlds battlefield with its demigod body than come into contact with those angels. Half an hour is enough time. Outside, the territory ruled by the Bone Temple. In the vast expanse of the Bone-White Sea, the City of Angels loomed silently. Just the divine and luminous aura emanating from it purified countless undead in the surrounding area. At this moment, numerous holy angels flew out of the city in a dense formation. They were all fully armed, wielding angelic swords burning with golden flames, radiating dazzling holy light. They were beautiful and pure, but they were filled with malice towards the undead in the Bone Temple. These were 2 large-scale angel legions, with a total of over 100,000 angels. They were commanded by two tin-winged angels. They were the tin-winged seeker angel, Sandy, and the tin-winged angel of strength, Martha. Under their leadership, the 100,000 angel army launched a powerful attack, surging with divine radiance into the bone-white sea. In an instant, a large number of undead creatures were slain and purified. Even more undead creatures screamed in fear and fled. Advertisement. Previously, they were the rulers of this area. Now, they only wanted to survive. However, the angel army would not give them that chance. On the battlefield, numerous divine art-level angels waved their divine staffs, smashing dazzling holy spells into the bone sea. Instantly, masses of undead creatures dissipated into the heavens and earth. Their souls were devoured by the floating soul orbs suspended high in the air. In addition to the undead creatures, the bones covered by the holy spells in the bone sea were completely purified, erasing all necromantic power. The purified bones would no longer give birth to new undead. They could even be taken back and made into soup without any problem. As for the taste, that's another story. Escape. Run. The evil angels have invaded. Countless undead creatures fled in all directions. Those in the sky and those on the ground, all were fleeing. As soon as the angel army descended, they scattered like startled birds and beasts, fleeing without any order. As for gathering to resist, don't make a joke. After the last batch of Transcendent and King-level undead were taken away by the Saint-rank undead, the remaining undead creatures in the Bone Sea were at most 9th level late stage. High-level undead creatures like these could still be domineering in front of other practitioners. But when faced with Lin Yu's angel army, they were basically no different from cannon fodder. Both divine spells and angelic combat techniques could easily kill a large number of them. At the same time, radiant barriers appeared on the battlefield. These were the Dominion Angel's divine spells, war shackles. They could seal off the battlefield, preventing the enemy from escaping. The angel army strategy against the undead of the Bone Temple was to eliminate evil and not let a single one escape. As the extermination operation continued, the battlefield continued to advance towards the central Bone Palace. On the edge of the Bone Temple's Bone Sea, there is a large number of human figures gathered here. They are all combat professionals, with a total number of nearly 1,000. Some of these combat professionals have descended in this area, while others come from nearby places. In the past half-month, the number of combat professionals here has been increasing. The reason they came here is because the undead here are not only weak in strength, but also numerous, which is perfect for them to kill monsters and level up. At night, they hide. During the day, they come out to hunt the weak undead here, as well as the monsters in the wilderness. Their levels are rapidly increasing. Among these combat professionals, the highest level has reached level 8. They are no worse than those Apex-level Overlord professionals. At this moment, they gather on the top of a bone mountain, gazing at the distant horizon. In their field of vision, there is a huge white giant city floating. In addition, they also see countless angels flying out of the white giant city, exterminating the undead creatures in the Bone Sea. Damn! What those people in the chat channel said is true. Lin Yu really sent the City of Angels and the Angel Army to attack the Bone Temple. The combat power of those angels is too strong. They are completely invincible. There is no undead creature on the battlefield that can match them. Killing undead creatures on the battlefield is as easy as cutting vegetables for them. Fortunately, we are not in that area. Otherwise, our fate might be the same as those undead creatures. Hearing this, the combat professionals present also feel fortunate. Compared to Lin Yu's angel army, they are much weaker. With their strength, they can conquer a normal overlord territory, but it is completely impossible to contend with Lin Yu's angel army. Of course, they have never thought of opposing Lin Yu, because that would be purely seeking death. Advertisement. One combat professional said, if everything goes as planned, after completely capturing the Bone Temple, Elf Garden, and Naga Kingdom's headquarters, Lin Yu will probably establish a kingdom. By then, we will join. Although the conditions given by Lin Yu are harsh, at least we don't have to worry anymore. Indeed, Only by joining Lin Yu's kingdom can we avoid being treated as heretics by those angels. Let's retreat quickly. If undead creatures gather towards us and attract Lin Yu's angels, we might be implicated. It would be a great loss to fail halfway through our grand plan. Just as these combat professionals were preparing to retreat, they suddenly saw several figures flying out of the city of angels. Two of them are six-winged angels. One is a humanoid creature wearing a black and gold robe. The other figure is a bone dragon over 100 meters long. Damn, such a huge bone dragon. I have seen the bone dragon of the Bone Temple before, but it wasn't as big as this one. Its level has definitely reached the demigod level. This bone dragon looks like it's made of white jade, giving me an unusually sacred feeling. I suspect it is a sanctum creature created by Lin Yu. That's possible. Who is that black-robed human? There are actually humans in Lin Yu's territory? What humans? That's clearly a lich. If nothing unexpected happens, it is the ruler of the Bone Temple, the Lich King. It has also been captured by Lin Yu and transformed into the Lich of the Sanctum. Damn, is Lin Yu really that amazing? To be able to transform a lich. People are really infuriating when compared to others. As professionals who have descended into this floating island world, why is there such a huge gap between us and Lin Yu? Stop talking, it's all fate. After the four figures appeared, the battle professionals present dared not linger any longer. Advertisement. They all fled in the opposite direction of the angel army. Their location was basically on the edge of the dark forest. These professionals were preparing to find a safe area to level up first, and then wait for Lin Yu to establish his kingdom. On the other side, the four figures flew straight towards the central bone hall. In addition to the Lich King and the Dragon of the Sanctum Aoster, the other two six-winged angels were Aida and Sally, both of whom were at the demigod level. Especially Aida, who was now in the mid-stage of demigod. In a one-on-one battle, an ordinary peak demigod might not be her opponent. Their mission was to destroy the headquarters of the Bone Temple. It would be even better if they could find the escaped rock demon. However, when the group of people arrived at the location of the central bone hall, the scene in front of them stunned them. Especially the Lich King, who was directly dumbfounded. Its bone hall, as well as all the other buildings around it, had turned into ruins. There were scattered building debris and broken giant skeletons everywhere. It couldn't even find the location of its own bone hall. Damn it! The Lich King was instantly furious. It cast a fierce gaze at the group of nightmare knights standing in the ruins. It was these guys who destroyed its headquarters. How could it face the great creator like this? On the other side, the nightmare knights in the ruins were also dumbfounded for a while. They didn't expect the enemy to arrive so quickly. What they didn't expect was the Lich King of the Bone Temple was actually standing behind two six-winged angels, and it was emitting an extremely pure, holy, and luminous aura. This was truly unbelievable. Lich is a pure undead creature. To some extent, Lich is the representative of the undead race in the mortal world. It has even gained recognition from the laws of the underworld. It is because of this that the powerful Lich can open the gate of the underworld and summon undead creatures from the underworld. In reality, the power of the Lich King is still weak. It is only at the level of a demigod. If it were to reach the realm of a true god, after opening the gate of the underworld, it would not only be able to summon a large number of undead creatures, but also summon underworld behemoths, such as Cerberus, the underworld phoenix, the underworld python, and the abyssal demon dragon, and so on. And this kind of ability is generally only possessed by creatures like Lich. Once the Lich becomes a god in the underworld, the probability of it becoming a death god is also very high. This is the Lich, an undead creature that has received special care from the laws of the underworld. Similarly, the Lich would never betray the undead camp. But now, what do they see? A Lich emitting a holy and radiant aura, and also a bone dragon belonging to the holy and radiant camp. This completely shatters their worldview and understanding. The current mood of these nightmare knights is like seeing a ghost, filled with horror. This is simply a joke. May the underworld emperor be above. How can there be lich and bone dragons with holy and radiant attributes in the world? This makes no sense at all. The laws of the universe are not meant to be played with like this. Advertisement. The Nightmare Knights present are all dumbfounded. They find it hard to believe what they are seeing before their eyes. Even the shock brought by the arrival of the angels cannot compare to the shock brought by Lich and the Bone Dragon, Oster, joining the holy and radiant camp. After all, this completely goes against the laws of the chaotic universe. It has never happened before. The angels are actually able to transform Lich and Bone Dragons, undead creatures, into beings of the holy and radiant camp. It's terrifying. No wonder the gods of our underworld are so fearful of the angel race. The abilities of this race are simply horrifying. The group of Nightmare Knights all cast their gazes towards the two six-winged angels radiating with dazzling holy light. One at the mid-stage of demigod, one at the early stage of demigod. Just standing under that sky, it makes their scalps tingle. Now, they finally understand why the previous Nightmare Knight squad suddenly lost signal. As they speculated, the Nightmare Knight team has been completely wiped out, and the enemy that destroyed them is none other than the angels. Clearly, it was just bad luck for the Nightmare Knight team to mistakenly enter the territory of Paradise Town and end up being killed by the angels there. At the same time, they were also fortunate that they didn't investigate the cause of the Nightmare Knight team's demise. Otherwise, they might have died long ago. Of course, these extra days of survival seem to have little meaning now, because the Angel Clan has already caught up to them. They are still doomed to die. Sir, what should we do now? A Nightmare Knight at the Saint rank level asked through mental communication, clearly trembling in spirit. And the one being asked is the demigod level Nightmare Knight who leads this team. The demigod level Nightmare Knight replied, "The teleportation altar has not been completed yet. We need to continue delaying time for the Lord. However, there's no need to fight to the death with those two angels. We will retreat while leading them away from this place." Advertisement. Understood. The other Nightmare Knights responded one after another. Without any hesitation, this Nightmare Knight team immediately retreated, and their speed of escape was very fast. They were not worried that the two angels would not be able to catch up to them. The Angel Clan possesses extreme speed in the world. Even if they ride nightmare beasts, they cannot outrun the angels with multiple pairs of wings. As they expected, the six-winged angel Aida and Sally immediately chased after them, followed closely by the Lich King and the Bone Dragon Oster. These Nightmare Knights destroyed the Lich King's stronghold and caused our Lord to lose a large amount of loot. They are unforgivable. Capture them and redeem their bodies and souls. Recover our Lord's losses from them. Aida and Sally took the lead, chasing after the Nightmare Knight team. The former was tall and had an impressive figure. The latter was petite and lovely. Both angels had significant differences in appearance and temperament. However, their goals were the same. Both of them wanted to kill these despicable Nightmare Knights and make up for the losses caused by the destruction of the Bone Temple to the greatest extent possible. Because if they were the ones to destroy the Bone Temple, they would be able to obtain a large number of architectural blueprints, and they would also receive a highly ranked stronghold treasure chest. But now, the Bone Temple was destroyed before they could do so, turning into ruins. Naturally, they couldn't obtain these spoils of war. Soon, after fleeing for over 200 kilometers, the Nightmare Knight team was caught up by Aida and her companions. Without any communication, the battle erupted directly. Meanwhile, on the ruins of the Bone Temple, a figure in blood red appeared, tearing through space and descending. The figure in front is none other than Ten-Winged Fallen Angela Victoria. The angel army set off for more than an hour and just arrived at the Bone Temple, and she followed closely behind. This shows how fast she is. A distance of over 2,000 kilometers was transmigrated almost in the blink of an eye. The aura of the lava giant disappeared here. Speaking to herself, Victoria waved her right hand. Suddenly, the ruins of the buildings in the Bone Temple flew up out of thin air, then were swept by a burst of blood light and turned into ashes. without the ruins of the buildings to cover it up. The cave leading to the underground space also appeared. It is obvious that there is a dark flow of light at the entrance of the cave. That is the light of the law prohibition. This law prohibition was set up by the demigod-level Nightmare Knight himself. Its power is tens of times stronger than ordinary magic prohibitions. Just based on this prohibition, even if a professional of Saint rank came, it would be impossible to break it, even if multiple Saint rank powerhouses joined forces. But for Victoria, this law prohibition is nothing more than child's play. She flicked her finger and a burst of blood light hit the law prohibition. With a crisp sound, the law prohibition exploded like transparent glass, turning into countless fragments and disappearing. In fact, the power of that burst of blood light is not strong. It just hit the fatal weakness of the law prohibition in order to achieve the goal of piercing the surface with a point. In Victoria's eyes, FFYYF, a law prohibition set up by a demigod creature can be said to be full of flaws everywhere. If it were a law prohibition set up by Angelia, she would take it more seriously. Without delay, Victoria's figure flickered and turned into a blood shadow, entering the cave. And following the divine aura of the rock demon, she flew straight towards the underground space. Advertisement. Everything in the world, no matter what happens, will leave traces. But these traces are not something ordinary people can perceive. Especially the traces of deities, they are difficult to trace. However, for Victoria, this is still insignificant. She can capture and manifest these traces from an unknown realm, thus tracking the target. This ability is something that most deities need to look up to. On the other side, the rock demon, who was carving runes on the teleportation altar, also seemed to sense something. The seal prohibition at the entrance has been broken. Someone has intruded. The rock demon took a deep breath, although it only sensed one aura intruding. But it also knows a truth. Those who are not good do not come, and those who are good do not intrude. Anyone who dares to intrude alone and come to cause trouble for it must not be a good person. It pondered for a moment and then took out the corpse of the netherworld python that had been stored in its spatial equipment. Barkvis, it's up to you. The rock demon probed its own divine soul into the corpse of the netherworld python, forcefully activating the divinity hidden inside the body using secret techniques from the underworld, in order to temporarily revive the netherworld python. Sure enough, under its control, the death god Barkvis, who had been dead for who knows how many years, came back to life. The kilometer-long python body began to twist. Its dark red eyes slowly opened. It raised its exaggeratedly large python body and looked down at the rock demon, its voice stiff and indifferent as it said, "Is it you who revived this god?" "Yes." The rock demon nodded. "Death god Barkvis, I have been sent by His Majesty the Underworld Emperor to go to the Myriad Worlds battlefield. I need you to clear the way for my underworld army. Now, there is an enemy approaching." Advertisement. I need you to intercept her for me. After I complete the mission, I will plead for your merits to His Majesty the Underworld Emperor. At that time, His Majesty the Underworld Emperor may use his great power to reverse the river of time and bring your true spirit from the era of the holy demon war tens of millions of years ago to help you revive. The death god Barkvis was stunned for a moment. Then he murmured, "So, I have been lying dead for tens of millions of years?" "That's right." The rock demon sighed and said, "Tens of millions of years have passed, and the changes in the myriad worlds are also significant, including their underworld. It was split in half by the angel clan. If not for this, His Majesty the Underworld Emperor would not have sent them to the myriad worlds battlefield." However, it didn't want to tell the death god Barkvis about this matter. One reason was that the timing was not right. Secondly, it was worried that if the death god Barkvis knew, his fragmented consciousness might collapse on the spot and return to the state of lying dead. "I will help you." The death god Barkvis glanced at the teleportation altar, nodded, and then asked, "Who is the enemy? Is it a true god of the alien race? If it's just a lower god, I can delay them for a while." When it was alive, it was a middle-ranked god. It regarded lower gods as weaklings. But now the situation was different. Its fragmented consciousness had revived. Its divine power was far inferior to before. It could only barely deal with gods who held the position of lower gods. The rock demon said, "The enemy's strength is at most at the peak of demigod, but their identity is a bit special. They are angels." Upon hearing the first half of the sentence, the death god Barkvis breathed a sigh of relief. But the second half of the sentence from the rock demon made it tremble all over, almost unable to hold on. However, before the death god Barkvis could speak, a terrifying aura surged into the underground space. At the same time, Victoria's stunning figure flew out of the cave passage and instantly appeared in front of the rock demon and the death god Barkvis.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.